Hey guys, Candace Owens. Okay, so I get a ton of questions about dating. I guess people want me to give them dating advice, so I'm gonna answer some of these questions now. When should I start talking to my partner about marriage? I'm probably the last person you should ask this to, or maybe the first person you should ask this to. Don't forget, I got engaged after 2 weeks. And when I say after 2 weeks, I mean I met my husband, and then I was engaged 2 weeks later to him. I'm a big believer in not wasting any time. I know there's, I guess, now some modern wisdom. You wait 2 years and then you start bringing up engagement, but that's 2 years of your life. You're not getting any younger. Women are definitely have to pay attention, especially if you want children. So I think that if what you're looking for in a relationship is eventually marriage and kids, you should feel comfortable talking about that right away. It doesn't mean that the marriage and the kids and engagement has to happen today, but it does let you know that you're dating somebody that is a serious individual and is not here to just Netflix and chill, as the kids are saying these days. What questions to ask on the first date? How did you know so soon with your husband? Okay, two different questions. With my husband, it was really weird. I just looked at his face and I knew I was gonna marry him. It's the most bizarre thing in the entire world. It was his face. I don't know if I've seen it in a dream, but I was like, that's my husband, no questions asked. It was like a pull that I can't even explain. It was almost scientific. In terms of questions that you should ask on a first date, definitely figure out what they're looking for. I think that a lot of times men will be quite honest about that, and even if they're not honest to your face, they won't text you after that, and just, it'll let you know that they're just kind of looking to play around. So you should ask questions that give you the answers you're looking for. If you're somebody that wants a serious relationship, you should ask that individual, are you looking for a serious relationship? Are you looking to commit, or are you just kind of looking to date around? As I said before, if it's guys that are just looking to date around, it's a total and utter waste of your time. I don't think there's any reason at all for any women in the modern age to stick around with the guy that's not looking for anything serious. What was the worst piece of dating advice that you received, and did you follow it? Oh gosh, well, I feel that anytime you are dealing with women that have this sort of flamboyant, oh, just have fun, just do whatever, it totally doesn't matter. It does matter. It actually does matter. And I think that when I was younger, there was all of this encouragement coming from various sources that to be a woman in the modern age means to sleep around, to date, to be like a guy. It doesn't matter. You're gonna have no feelings. You will have feelings. I think, hooking up, dating, cuddling, all of that is inherently something that inspires you to have feelings. Oxytocin, for example, as they call it, the cuddle hormone, that's a real thing. And so when people are trying to tell you that you're gonna outthink that and it's not gonna matter and you can just have a casual relationship with a guy, I think it's the worst piece of advice you can possibly give a young woman. In the end, it just ends up with them being hurt. Where to meet strong conservative man? Not on Instagram. I am not being funny when I say that. I'm always very suspect when guys are very into social media. I think that psychologically, everything that's on the internet is almost like soft porn. It's actually something that I've talked about with my husband, and it's not good if guys are constantly looking at, I guess, advertisements for different women. And I think it's the reason why we have men in the past that seem to be so focused on their families, and men today who kind of feel like, oh, well, look, Tinder, I can just swipe to the left, or I can buy a different brand, as if they're shopping for cars in different makes in different years. So I think that depending on how religious you are, you can definitely meet a good person in church, but in any sort of conservative institution, I know people that like to go to political events tend to find others that are drawn by the same interests, and they find that, oh, hey, we have the same thoughts and ideas by going to a conference or something of that sort. So if you're interested in conservatism, do conservative activities, and you're likely to draw a conservative to yourself. What are your thoughts on saving kissing for marriage? I would say that I would not expect people to save kissing for marriage, but it is funny because me and my husband did not have our first kiss until after we were engaged. So, post-engagement, but that was just kind of because we got engaged so quickly. But no, I don't think it's a problem for people to be kissing before they're married. I think I don't judge you if you want to wait to kiss until you're married, but I don't think it's a bad thing to kiss someone before you get married. What are your suggestions for a relationship in a rut with a lot of frustrations? My suggestion, and this would actually go back to probably the best piece of dating advice I ever received, was from Bruce Jenner. On a very early season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, he was talking to Kourtney about her rut of a relationship with Scott Disick, and we know how that turned out. And he said, when you're dating somebody, that's as good as it's ever going to get. And what he meant by that was that a lot of people have this idea that your relationship's gonna get into a rut and it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be bad. But then once you get married or once you have a kid, it's gonna be happily ever after. And so many women kind of hold this perspective. It's like, just as soon as I get the ring, it's gonna be better. And that's not true. I think when you're dating, that is kind of the high, the emotional high, the, oh my God, this is amazing. And so if you're starting to see that start to taper off and you're not married yet, you're just in a relationship, I'd pay attention to those signs because you may not have found that person that you're meant to do life with. Hi, Candace. As a Gen Z, I wonder, where can I find masculine men? You should date a 60-year-old. I'm just kidding. Don't date a 60-year-old. But I understand the predicament that you're in, and it's partially due to this culture that is telling men to be more effeminate, and it's super frustrating. But they do exist, and actually what you will find is that the more effeminate men exist in these city bubbles, and when you kind of move into the rest of America, you're still gonna find the farmers, the ranchers, the people that are working with their hands, the construction workers. I mean, the qualitative difference in men from when I lived in New York and lived in DC versus when I moved here to Tennessee, I can't even tell you. Like, it's not even the same ballpark. They're there, probably just not in those cities that a lot of people tend to go into when they're in like college and at university and things of that nature. Do you keep in touch or follow any exes? Answer to that is absolutely not. I am super conservative when it comes to that. I think when you are a married woman, I'm not about that life of, oh, I'm just friends with my ex. I think if you've ever had a relationship with another man, it's super disrespectful, especially in a marriage, to maintain a relationship. I don't buy any of that, like we're just friends and yada, 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 but it used to be more. It's just a definite not for me. I seem to be more mature than guys my age, and makes it hard to date and commit. Any tips? I don't know how old you are, but that's very common. Guys take a lot longer to mature than women. Guys kind of have to get that thing out of their system. And I'll tell you a secret, they never really grow up. You gotta see, even the men, when they get together, they turn into little boys. I mean, my husband, and like building himself a man cave, and then hearing the construction workers talk to him, oh, we could put a humidor, it would be so cool, it could be like Batman. So there are aspects of a guy which are very sweet. They're kind of always boys, but I find that guys kind of ripen around 28, 29, like in their mid-20s. So if you're younger than that, you're probably not, I mean, there's always exceptions, but as a rule, younger guys are a little bit more immature than women, and we actually tend to mature a lot quicker. And there's probably some biological aspects to that. Women, we have to carry the children, and these are our baby-making ages. And I actually, even if you look at a little kid, little boys versus little girls. The little girls are so nurturing, and they got their dolls, and they're gonna take care of the dolls, and the little boys are just like banging their heads into trash cans. They're like, it's really funny. So it's super endearing. They do eventually grow out of it. They never really grow out of it, but they will be ready to commit and be in a serious relationship. So, I mean, I dated an older guy once. He was 9 years older when I was 21, and it was great. It was nice, and it felt like that was the right thing for that time for me. So I'm not giving you advice to go find an older man. I'm just saying they do eventually grow up. If you have great communication with a guy, but he's asking sexual questions, do you cut him off since he's most likely like that with other girls? Yeah, I mean, I would probably say that signals to you that you don't really have great communication with him. I just find that to be weird if you're just talking with him and he's asking you like explicit questions. I don't really find that to be appropriate. I mean, I don't know the nature of your relationship, but I would think that's pretty telling of what's on his mind, what's a primary concern on his mind. And I don't think that, unless you're looking for that, I would imagine that that's probably all of the red flags that you need. Best place to meet quality women that aren't fickle? Church. 8 years together. I called off engagement because he's still not ready. Can't leave each other though. Leave. Oh my gosh, I could tell you horror stories of girls that do this. I mean, I know 2 girls that were in relationships for 10 years with a guy and gave these men their best years because, men kind of age like fine wine, and, they don't have to worry so much about their reproductive vitality, and women are not the same. And so if you're giving this guy 8 years to make a decision, and the decision is still, I don't want to make a decision, then I am telling you, he is the guy, I've seen it happen twice, that is then going to meet a girl, like you're just there, you're a placeholder. He's gonna meet a girl and he's gonna be engaged 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and you're gonna be like, what happened to the last 8 years of my life? And I feel so terrible for those girls, but they knew they should have left earlier, but they didn't have the strength to do it. Have the strength to do it, leave, don't be somebody else's placeholder. I'm 15 and there's a girl I like and I don't know how to ask her on a date. just ask her. The worst thing that can happen, ready, is she's gonna say no. That's it. And you know what? You're gonna have a bruised ego for a couple of days, but I'm telling you, your ego will be made up by the fact that you did something that was actually really cool and manly. Asking a girl on a date. Girls are missing that. Guys that hold doors or have the strength to ask them out on dates and not hidden behind these apps or sending an Instagram message. I mean, just ask her. Say, hey, do you wanna grab lunch sometime? Hey, do you wanna catch a movie sometime? And if she says no, oh well, she's not the one and you'll meet somebody else. At-home date night idea. I love cooking, so I always think cooking together is fun. My husband is also a good cook, so that's a great thing. Other than that, if we're at home, it's usually making dinner, and then we love to watch shows together. So I know that sounds like I'm an old person, because we do like to stay inside a lot more these days. We have a son, so it's just easier for us to do a dinner date night. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that advice coming from me. Dating advice. I've been out of the game for a little bit and I have a kid, but I think there are some good mistakes that I've made from the past that you don't have to make. So, hope you enjoyed that.